Unveiled. After years of struggle and rejection, she surprised everyone with her billionaire love. Sarah wiped down the last table in the diner, her mind swirling with the weight of expectations. The small Midwestern town felt suffocating, yet it held her dreams captive. Beneath the worn linoleum, her ambition bubbled, gnawing at her chest. While her friends settled for reliable jobs, she drowned in piles of textbooks, devouring every page in pursuit of an elusive degree in science. The greasy smell of fries blended with the bitter aroma of black coffee, fueling her late-night studies and masking the doubts that crept in. Would she ever break free from the confines of her mother's illness? The ache of financial instability throbbed in her gut, and as she glanced at the door, her heart raced with self-doubt. Then Ethan walked in. With an easy smile and unassuming clothes, he felt like a shot of adrenaline. Eyes locking, a jolt of chemistry surged through her as he strolled to the counter, an unexpected spark igniting in that dull space. They exchanged words, laughter spilling like sunlight over an unpaved path. Yet, beneath the surface, anxiety clawed at her heart. How could someone from such privilege even fathom her struggles? It felt precarious, the weight of two worlds colliding. Just as they started to explore their connection, uncertainty wrapped around her throat, squeezing until she could barely breathe. Did she belong in this newfound reality? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she enrolled in university, freedom tasted sweet yet bitter, a taste of dreams she'd long pursued. Surrounded by scholars, their laughter rang like hollow notes, a reminder of what she lacked. Then the inevitable whispers began, the subtle undertones of envy and resentment. Her peers cast shadows of doubt over her achievements, attributing her progress to Ethan's influence, not the hours spent studying in her cramped bedroom. It was infuriating. Each day, she faced the same crumbling porch where beer bottles lay shattered, echoing the class prejudices that had haunted her life. The thought that she might be seen as anything less than worthy twisted her stomach in knots. In a moment of introspection, she stumbled upon the letters hidden in the attic tales of struggle, sacrifice, and forgotten ambitions from generations past. As she pieced together the fragments of her family's history, the cries of betrayal and lost opportunities resounded louder than ever. Each stroke of ink ignited a fire within her, blending resolve with despair. She was not merely battling for her future, but quietly carrying the weight of her ancestors. Just when Sarah felt the pull of hope, she was faced with a decision that could tear her apart. Presenting her research at a pivotal conference would put her groundbreaking work front and center a moment she'd worked tirelessly for. Yet as she stood at the precipice, torn between Ethan's unwavering support and the loyalty to her family's legacy, fear gnawed at her resolve. The quiet judgment on the faces before her loomed larger than life. Could she hold onto her integrity and ambition, or would she allow the insecurities of her past to tether her? Under the blaring spotlight, nerves twisted like a snake in her throat, the time had come. Sarah inhaled, feeling the tremor of a tumultuous decision ahead. And just as she prepared to speak, the tension thickened, swirling around her a dark certainty that her answer would echo long beyond that room, intertwining their lives in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. The moment hung suspended in time, the buzz of anticipation echoing in her ears. Sarah's heartbeat drummed a frantic rhythm as her eyes darted across the room, absorbing the expectant faces of faculty, peers, and even a few skeptics. What if they were right? What if I don't deserve to be here? As she exhaled slowly, anchoring herself in the present, her mind flickered back to the letters' words of struggle that resonated with her own battles. They urged her to channel her fear into something powerful. A surge of determination lit her resolve. She was not just presenting research. She was honoring the legacy of those who believed education was the key to freedom. With a definitive breath, she stepped into the illumination of the spotlight, the room fading around her as she began to speak. Fluidly, she articulated her findings, intertwining passion with knowledge. Each sentence carved out confidence, shutting out the nervous whispers that had haunted her for months. For the first time, she felt in control. She was not merely a reflection of what others thought of her, but a force capable of shaping perceptions. As she spoke, she noticed Ethan seated in the audience, his gaze unwavering, his nods of encouragement fueling her courage. There was no room for doubt now. This was her moment. The applause that followed was an electric current, a validation that traveled from her fingertips all the way to her core. But as the warmth of their applause washed over her, an unsettling contrast began to form in her mind. The pride she felt was undermined by the reality that the same people who applauded her might still harbor skepticism about her worth. Would they ever truly see her as more than a charity case standing in the shadow of privilege? The question lingered like a ghost, haunting the edges of her triumph. In the days that followed, Sarah submerged herself deeper into her studies, but the recognition from the conference ignited a whirlwind of new opportunities. As professors sought her out for collaborations and research projects, she was torn between her aspirations and her crumbling sense of self. Every offer came tinged with unspoken questions. Was she ready to break away from the chains of expectation? Ethan became a constant presence, offering support that felt nurturing yet precarious. They shared late-night conversations where he encouraged her to explore her ambitions, but also steered her toward opportunities she hadn't considered before. Their chemistry deepened, yet so did Sarah's feelings of inadequacy. She was grappling with the same insecurities that had plagued her throughout her life, questions of whether she truly belonged in his world, or if she was merely a placeholder while the real contenders remained on the sidelines. Then came the email that shifted everything. An opportunity to intern at a prestigious research lab had arrived, one she had only dreamed of in quiet hours. It was a chance to escape the bounds of her small-town existence and step into a whirlwind of scientific discovery. Yet, this wasn't just a professional decision. It had emotional ramifications. Accepting could mean leaving everything behind: Ethan, her friends, the familiar embrace of the diner where her dreams had first begun to take shape. As she hovered over the reply button, trembling with the gravity of her decision, Sarah realized this choice would define her trajectory not only in her career, but in her personal life. The path wound ahead, uncertain yet glimmering with promises. Could she summon the unyielding courage of her ancestors and take the leap? Her finger hovered, heart racing. Just as she decided, a knock on the door interrupted her contemplation, and news that could change everything yet again. This chapter was only the beginning of an even greater crossroads. Sarah's heart sank as the door creaked open, revealing Professor Harris, a distinguished figure whose presence usually commanded attention. He stepped inside, smiling faintly, yet the look in his eyes hinted at urgency. "Sarah," he began, his voice steady, "I hope I'm not interrupting." She swallowed hard, caught off guard. "No, not at all. I've received a letter concerning your application for the lab internship." His gaze intensified, and Sarah's breath hitched. "It seems you're shortlisted." "Shortlisted?" The word spun in her mind, a mingling of excitement and dread. "What does that mean?" "It means you're being considered, but there are other candidates. You have a chance, though I should mention there are some big names among them," he replied, the weight of his honesty pressing down on her. The prospect sent a tide of adrenaline through her. However, a sickening fear soon dampened the thrill. The thoughts began swirling: failures, inadequacies, the pervasive uncertainty of her worth. Did she belong in such esteemed company? "Professor, what if I don't measure up?" The vulnerability slipped from her lips before she could catch it. She felt exposed. Standing before the emblem of her hopes and fears, he placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Sarah, you've proven yourself capable. This isn't just an opportunity. It's a testament to your resilience." He paused, his eyes piercing through her insecurities. "But you must reflect on what you want, not just what you think others want." His words struck a chord, awakening an echo of the letters she had pored over. Was this her chance to redefine how she saw herself? To chase not only an opportunity, but a sense of belonging? Is there a chance to shine? She mused. Or will I just be another face in the crowd? Shining takes courage, facing fear and asserting your worth, even amidst doubts. Perhaps this is the moment to confront what holds you back, he urged. Her pulse quickened. She needed to confront those insecurities head-on, rather than let them dictate her future. It was not just about proving herself to others. It was about claiming her identity. As Professor Harris left, Sarah's thoughts spiraled around the potential of the internship against the backdrop of her budding feelings for Ethan. Would taking this leap jeopardize the fragile connection they had built? She imagined their late-night discussions, laughter, and support, yet the nagging fear of vulnerability loomed larger than ever. Could she forge a path as an individual while still navigating the intricacies of her relationship? Each option came laced with sacrifices, and she felt the weight of those choices pressing upon her. Days turned into a haze of research and reflection, and as the deadline for the internship reply approached, she wrestled with her emotions. A part of her longed for the safety of the familiar, the late nights with Ethan, the small-town comforts, but another yearned for the thrill of discovery and self-actualization. The night before the deadline felt restless. With a deep breath, she sat down with a pen and paper. Writing became cathartic, each stroke allowing her to untangle her fears and ambitions. She pinned down what she wanted for herself, the vision she envisioned now unfurling before her. Illuminated by her passions, as dawn broke, illuminating her waking thoughts with clarity, a decision began to crystallize within her. She could balance her ambitions without sacrificing her relationships. Just then, her phone buzzed, pulling her from a reverie. It was a text from Ethan. "Can we talk? I need to discuss something important." Sarah's heart raced with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. The urgency in his message unsettled her as it played in her mind. What could be so important? The lines between opportunity and stability were beginning to blur, as she sensed that whatever came next would either solidify her newfound confidence or send her spiraling back into doubt. Would she be able to confront her feelings for Ethan while navigating this pivotal moment? The questions hung in the air like a storm cloud, waiting to break. The moment hung heavily in the air as Sarah stared at her phone. Ethan's request cut through her morning peace, awakening both curiosity and apprehension. She felt the weight of his words pressing against the fragile layer of her newfound resolve, as if waiting to either bolster her confidence or shatter it. She chewed her lip, torn between pressing send on the reply or allowing the silence to stretch. One corner of her mind whispered that it could be a critical conversation about their relationship. The other warned that any distraction from her focus on the internship could jeopardize everything she had worked for. After a moment's hesitation, she typed back, "Sure, when and where?" Biting down on her lower lip, she pressed send, trying to swallow the uncertainty growing in her chest. With the call to confidence ringing in her ears, Sarah resolved to make this moment about clarity, not fear. She took a deep breath and stood up, willing herself to start her day. She made her way over to her desk, where a series of half-finished projects lay waiting, the remnants of procrastination. If she was going to step into the world of advanced research, she had to dive deeply into her work. Piece by piece, as she sifted through her files and notes, she felt a sense of urgency supplant her earlier dread. It was her desire for the internship that propelled her determination forward. This wasn't just about Ethan or the allure of his reassuring presence. It was about asserting herself in a field where she often felt like an outsider. With each paper she reviewed, she discovered more about her own capabilities. Ideas flowed, solutions to ongoing problems emerged. This was who she aspired to be. Mental notes formed around her willingness to engage with complex material, illuminating the path she wanted to follow. The day passed in a flurry of ideas and energy, but when evening descended, her mind turned again to Ethan. Their location was a small park bench under the sprawling oak trees they had visited countless times. A lovely place steeped in memories, but also a backdrop that hinted at vulnerabilities. When she arrived, she spotted him fidgeting, hands shoved deep in his pockets. The sight jogged memories of late-night discussions and laughter, yet brought an unexpected gnawing at her gut, the possibility of change looming with every step she took toward him. "Hey, thanks for coming," he said, his voice soft but taut, as though waiting for the weight of his words to land. "Of course," she replied, trying to mask her own nerves. "What is up?" He looked down, as if gathering his thoughts like loose strands of an unfinished tapestry. "I didn't know how to say this, but I've been offered a job. It's a really good opportunity," and his voice trailed off as if he were searching for the right words amongst his clutter of thoughts. Fear washed over Sarah as she processed the implications of his statement. This was precisely the kind of moment she had dreaded, the kind that can pull relationships apart under the pressure of choices and opportunities. "Where is it?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper, betraying her inner turmoil. "New York. I know it's a big move, but I want to understand how it might affect us," he replied, his eyes searching hers for some semblance of reassurance. The juxtaposition of their emerging futures hung in the air, a crossroad neither had anticipated. As she considered the tension between opportunity and the familiar, the sharp realization hit her. They were both facing formidable choices that could force them apart unless they grasped their own paths firmly. "My internship," she began, her voice steadier than she felt. "It might mean moving away as well. I've been grappling with my decision all week." The silence that followed was thick and painful, as each of them confronted a choice that could alter everything: their relationship, their dreams, their identities. "How do we navigate this?" Ethan finally asked, voice low and strained. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, a profound understanding washed over her. This moment could redefine both of them, but she needed to assert her own desire for growth, alongside their collective aspirations. The horizon of their futures stood before them, a myriad of possibilities unfurling in tandem with unresolved fears. Would they dare to support each other's ambitions while navigating the unknowns of their relationship? As she took in Ethan's earnest expression, she felt once more the storm of uncertainty swirl within her. The emotional dance had begun, but where would it lead them? Would growth and love intertwine, or would they find themselves pulled apart by the harsh reality of their diverging aspirations? Sarah's heart raced as she prepared to answer, knowing that what came next could change everything. The air felt electric as Sarah steadied her breath, worlds hanging in the delicate balance between uncertainty and hope. She sensed the uncharted territory stretching out before them, a road neither had anticipated, but both were now compelled to navigate. The quiet park, once a sanctuary, transformed into a stage for profound life choices. "Ethan," she started, a decision forming within. "We have to be honest about what this means for us." His eyes flickered with anticipation, waiting for her to continue. "I don't want us to lose what we have, but I also can't ignore how important this internship is for my future." Ethan nodded slowly. "I get that. It's just this opportunity in New York is everything I've dreamed of, but it's difficult to imagine you not being a part of that dream." The sincerity in his voice struck a chord, heightening her internal conflict. Did she dare prioritize her career, even if it meant stepping away from the comfort and predictability of their relationship? Her heart hesitated as she weighed the gravity of pursuing her ambition against a potential fracture of their bond. Drawing a deep breath, Sarah realized this was more than a decision about Ethan or her internship. It was a defining moment, a test of her own strength, a chance to claim her identity without apology. "I want you to take this job," she said, her voice firm despite the nerves bubbling beneath the surface. "You deserve it, but I also have to pursue my path regardless of where it leads." Ethan looked taken aback, mirrored surprise in his expression. "So, you're saying we could both be away?" "Yes," she affirmed, locking eyes with him as she fortified her resolve. "It doesn't mean we end, but that we each embrace our own opportunities." It could push us to grow rather than pull us apart. Ethan absorbed her words, and she could see the wheels turning in his mind. It was both a relief and a heart-wrenching realization. Their relationship was at a turning point, a crossroad illuminated by the flashbulbs of their futures. "What if it doesn't work out?" he asked quietly, the vulnerability seeping into his tone like an uninvited guest. A wave of uncertainty rushed through her, but Sarah shook her head, undeterred. "Staying in our comfort zones might feel safe, but can also stifle growth. We risk losing ourselves. I've spent too long doubting my potential to let fear dictate my decisions now." In that moment, realization swept over her. This was a moment of empowerment, not just for her, but for Ethan too. They could forge their independent paths while still valuing what they had built together. Ethan finally smiled faintly, though concern lingered in his eyes. "You're right. If we care about each other, it should be about supporting each other as dreams. We can figure it out." Gratitude swelled in Sarah's chest at his willingness to embrace this challenging notion. The bond they had felt weathered under pressure, but somehow more dynamic, transformed into something that could handle the complexity of their ambitions. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with twilight hues, Sarah was struck by a surge of optimism. She was no longer just the aspiring intern or the girlfriend of Ethan. She was carving her identity, becoming someone with a vision for her future, someone unafraid to take risks. But the nagging question remained. What obstacles would they face as they ventured into this new phase? Could their affection withstand the challenges that lay ahead in distance and opportunity? "Let us promise to talk, no matter what," she suggested hesitantly, unsure if the gravity of her statement would hold under the pressure of real-life separation. Ethan nodded with resolve. "We will, no matter where life takes us." As they stood to leave, excitement and dread twisted together in her stomach. Sarah realized that embracing her future might also require confronting deeper personal fears, ones about intimacy and distance, purpose and vulnerability. Yet she now felt armed with a newfound strength, ready to tackle whatever lay ahead. With one last look at Ethan, uncertainty filled her once more. The promise of their new paths hovered in the balance. But was it too naive to believe that both could thrive amidst change? As they stepped into the night, Sarah wrestled with a closing thought, unraveling in her mind. Would their affection endure the weight of their own aspirations, or perhaps more frighteningly become the very thing they needed to let go of to truly rise? Sarah's walk home felt heavier than usual, each step resonating with the weight of her decisions. The crisp air was filled with a mix of exhilaration and trepidation, an echo of the complex dialogue lingering in her mind. Changes were underway, not just in her relationship with Ethan, but within herself, and navigating this new landscape felt simultaneously liberating and daunting. As she crossed the threshold into her apartment, the familiarity of her surroundings contrasted sharply with what lay ahead. The small living room, cluttered with books and half-finished projects, was both a sanctuary and a reminder of time spent at crossroads. She sank into the well-worn couch, and her gaze drifted towards the stacks of papers that held countless designs and ideas for her own ambitions, her passion for fashion design. The internship in New York was more than an opportunity. It was a gateway to a world where she could finally immerse herself in creativity. Yet the thought of leaving everything behind simmered uneasily by her side. The late nights spent sketching her dreams, the fabric swatches that lined her workspace, all represented the very essence of her aspirations. Could she truly embark on this journey alone, with only her hopes for company? Overwhelmed by emotion, Sarah pulled out her sketchbook. It served as both a confidant and a canvas for her future. Each line she drew was a conversation with herself, revealing deeper fears intertwined with potential. What if her vision didn't resonate with those in New York? What if she faltered amidst the fierce competition? The gnawing question of rejection loomed, reminding her of past setbacks. But in the flurry of her thoughts, she recalled Ethan's expression when she voiced her intentions. His encouragement ignited a flash of clarity amidst her doubts. This was not just about leaving her comfort zone. It was about pursuing a life that honored her passion and individuality. Inspiration surged within her, and she began to sketch with renewed vigor, pouring out thoughts on the page. Her vision took shape, embodying shades of boldness intertwined with vulnerability. Emboldened, she reached for her phone to text Ethan, eager to share the creative burst. But half-typed messages paused as she hesitated. Did he really understand the depth of what she intended to conquer? Until now, they had been a unit, intertwined in each other's goals. What would it mean for them to embrace independence? The idea felt precarious, a tightrope walk through the unknown. Her thoughts were interrupted by the familiar ping of a message. It was Ethan, asking how she was feeling after their conversation. A flood of warmth spread through her as she realized the sincerity behind his words. They were trying to bridge the distance that change guaranteed. She typed back, feeling excited and scared. "Working on my designs tonight." His response came with encouragement, urging her to explore her creativity without fear. It struck her that this moment, this exchange, was a testament to their growing relationship and evolution where they could support each other's flames without extinguishing their own. For the first time in a long while, Sarah felt a sense of purpose illuminating her path. If she wholeheartedly embraced this internship, it would be a chance to redefine not only her career, but her sense of self. The thought of what capacity the world could hold for her exhilarated her further. With newfound vigor, Sarah committed to dedicating each day toward planning her next steps. She would network, reach out to mentors, and refine her portfolio. The world in New York called not only as a professional opportunity, but as a personal challenge, a chance to discover if she could truly manifest the dreams nestled within her. But beneath the surface of her ambition, shadows clung, whispering doubts that would not easily dissolve. Would her progress mean leaving part of her heart behind? As she sketched deeper into the night, one question began to crystallize. How much of her own identity was interwoven with Ethan, and how much was hers to craft independently? Just as she laid down the final stroke on a design, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a picture Ethan had sent, his smile wider than she'd seen in days, a reminder of the bond they were nurturing. Yet, as the glow of his image illuminated her standing room of possibilities, Sarah realized that the fabric of their love would soon be tested not just by distance, but by the pursuit of goals that may interlace or intertwine in unexpected ways. As she steered back to her sketches, the weight of self-discovery pressed more firmly against her chest. Was it possible to achieve her dreams while keeping that connection vibrant? The very essence of love and ambition might soon unveil truths she had yet to confront. Just as she was about to set her pencil down, a thought struck her. What if the price of her growth demanded a sacrifice she wasn't ready to pay? She stared at her unfinished designs, a mixture of creativity and uncertainty swirling within her, setting the stage for the next phase of her journey. The morning light filtered softly through the window, casting faint shadows on the walls where Sarah's sketches hung, reminders of long nights spent at the drawing board. But today, an unfamiliar determination compelled her to rise. She stretched, shaking off the remnants of doubt that had clouded her mind. The anticipation of her future loomed large, and she needed to act. Today would not just be another day for sketching. It was the beginning of a new chapter. Sarah brewed coffee, the rich aroma filling the space that had once seemed so isolating. Out with the old fears, she decided today she would reach out to her mentors, people who had been generous with their time and advice. As she sank in her tiny desk, she pulled out her laptop. Each keystroke felt deliberate, a step toward her aspirations. She crafted emails, carefully outlining her intentions and expressing her eagerness to learn from their experiences. The longer she typed, the more the words poured out, a testament to the grit she had discovered within herself. Her phone buzzed again, momentarily disrupting her focus. It was a notification from a fashion magazine with a feature on emerging designers, a decision lapel pin sprouting enthusiasm in her chest. After scanning the article, she allowed herself to get swept up in the stories of their journeys. One designer spoke of quitting a stable job to pursue her passion, and another recounted moments of vulnerability that led to transformative breakthroughs. Sarah nodded, a spark igniting inside her. If they could abandon everything to chase their dreams, then so could she. With a deeper resolve, she opened her portfolio and reviewed what she had created over the years. Each piece told a story. Layers of emotional investment lined the fabric, and for each design, there was a piece of herself embedded. But was it enough? The critical eye inside her began to analyze not just the aesthetics, but the authenticity of her voice within each piece. Doubt crept in, whispering that she needed to dig deeper, find her distinct style that could catch eyes in the bustling streets of New York. In a burst of inspiration, she pushed aside her laptop and laid her sketchbook on the desk. She allowed herself to brainstorm freely, letting go of constraints as she threw down a torrent of ideas. Lines danced across the page, diverging into an array of formations. But there was something missing. Her designs needed to reflect not just beauty, but a narrative that resonated. That is, when the moment struck her, her designs could communicate her journey, her struggles, and ultimately, her triumphs. Emboldened by this realization, Sarah began to sketch with a renewed purpose. Each design represented not just fabric, but the fabric of her story woven through experience. She was not just creating garments. She was giving voice to her aspirations, her fears, and her personal evolution. As dusk settled over the day, Sarah leaned back, wary yet energized. This shift was monumental. The once fluttery uncertainty now transformed into solid motivation. The weight she had felt earlier dissipated, leaving room for constructive ambition. The journey ahead still contained questions, and the fear of leaving loved ones behind persisted. Yet she felt a fierceness ignite, a promise made to herself that she would not merely survive this transition, but thrive within it. Deep in her thoughts, she wondered about Ethan and the shifting dynamics of their relationship. Would his support wane as she delved deeper into this new world? Or could they evolve together, embracing their separate journeys while holding firm to their bond? Just then, her phone buzzed once more, and her heart quickened at the thought of him. But it was not a message, it was a calendar reminder for a networking event she had nearly forgotten. The decision to attend this event could open doors she hadn't even envisioned, catapult her toward connections vital for her career. It was a risk she needed to take, yet she hesitated. Was she ready to plunge into a room filled with established professionals where she would have to assert herself? What if she was met with indifference or criticism? A heavy breath flowed from her as she stared at the reminder, uncertainty prickling at her skin. This moment felt pivotal, a fork in her journey that would either embolden her or cast her back into familiar fears. With her heart racing, she thought to herself, what if this was the very step she needed to embark upon to claim her dreams? As the weight of her decision settled over her, Sarah felt the distinct stirrings of growth within. The time had come to face her doubts and transform them into determination. With a sense of resolve growing stronger, she reached for her phone to respond to the reminder, ready to seize yet another opportunity. The world awaited, so what choice would she make? The decision to attend the networking event loomed large in Sarah's mind. Briefly, she imagined herself in that room, surrounded by industry giants, their conversations brimming with confidence. It felt like stepping into a lioness den, an environment that could either swallow her whole or help her discover the strength she didn't know she possessed. As she stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the collar of her blouse, she searched for a spark of belief within. She practiced her introduction, muttering her name and her passions under her breath. However, the reflection staring back at her seemed hesitant, even apprehensive. Seizing her notebook, she flipped through the pages of sketch designs and affirmations she had written down. Each piece resonated with her journey and ambitions. There was a list of reasons for attending, to gain insights, build connections, and perhaps find collaboration opportunities. But the lingering question remained, would her insecurities stifle her voice? She took a deep breath, a subtle yet powerful act of defiance against her self-doubt. There was no perfect moment. She needed to create her own. Sarah turned her attention to her portfolio, making sure it was perfect, that it would present her story with clarity. Each design was a thread in the tapestry of who she wanted to become. Her heart raced with every detail she evaluated, yet she forced herself to embrace the potential vulnerability of sharing her work. The event was set in a popular venue adorned with chic decorations, modern and sleek, hosting a glittering array of lights. As she entered, she immediately felt the hum of creativity and art mingling in conversations around her. Excitement fought against the tension brewing in her stomach. People walked about with drinks in hand, exchanging ideas and aspirations, their laughter ringing like music in her ears. Sarah found a quiet corner to steady her heartbeat. She picked up her phone, fiddling with a message she had hesitated to send to Ethan. She wanted to share her excitement, but feared that sharing her insecurities would burden him. However, a sweet message of encouragement might ease her nerves. With a quick stroke, she sent it off before she could second-guess herself. Then came the moment of decision. Should she step into the fray and begin networking, target a group of designers, or find her footing with someone older, perhaps in a mentoring role? The shadows of hesitation lingered, but she pushed the thoughts aside. Her journey thus far had been paved with uncertainty, but taking this bold step forward was essential. Sweeping the room with her gaze, she spotted a small gathering of young designers animatedly discussing their latest collections. Gathering her resolve, Sarah took a deep breath and approached, each step a test of her newfound confidence. The group welcomed her, smiles breaking across faces filled with passion and creativity. "I'm Sarah," she introduced herself, feeling the warmth of connection illuminate her insecurities. "I've been considering focusing my designs on personal narratives. How about you?" As the conversation unfolded, she felt an unexpected surge of excitement wash over her. They were receptive, sharing their own journeys and encouraging her perspective on storytelling through fashion. Their genuine fascination drew her in, as they exchanged ideas fluidly, the wall she had built crumbling with each constructive dialogue. Feeling emboldened, Sarah opened her portfolio to reveal sketches. The thrill of vulnerability tinged with courage ignited her voice. "These are pieces that speak to my past, my challenges and aspirations woven into each design." The reactions from her peers were uplifting, resonating with her deeper intentions. No longer just a nameless designer, Sarah began to solidify her identity within the dialogue. Yet amid the positivity, a nagging thought loomed: could she sustain this openness in the face of real criticisms? Had she truly stepped into the enchanting world of fashion, or simply brushed its surface? With a determination hardening in her chest, she continued to engage with the group, but as the night progressed, one figure stood apart: an established designer whose reputation preceded him, known for being brutally honest. Sarah felt the weight of anticipation. If this was her moment for critical feedback, she was ready to embrace it. How would it feel to hear critiques from someone whose opinion mattered? Would it challenge her growth or spark further doubt? For her next step, even in vulnerability, she sensed that there was more waiting just ahead, a potential collision course with the critique that might either enlighten or dishearten her. As her heart raced once more, she approached the industry powerhouse, ready to unearth what lay on the other side of self-discovery. This was not just networking. It was a test of her resolve. Would she emerge empowered or diminished? As she drew closer, the silence settled, and the true challenge waited. The air thickened as Sarah neared the established designer, a figure towering both physically and in reputation. His brow furrowed as he studied her, claws poised to dissect the sincerity of her work. She could feel the collective energy from those around them, curiosity mingled with the tension of expectation. Each step felt monumental, a pilgrimage toward validation or dismissal. "Good evening," she managed, aligning her composure despite the turbulent emotions swirling within. "I'm Sarah, and I'd love to get your thoughts on my designs." He observed her as if she were an uncut gem, searching for flaws before even considering the luster. Sarah's heart thundered against her ribs, each beat a reminder of her vulnerability. She placed her portfolio on the table, hands trembling slightly. This collection reflects my journey through personal narratives, she began, her voice steadying as she remembered the passion behind each sketch. She flipped through the pages, revealing thoughtful pieces that captured not just aesthetics, but also fragments of her experiences and emotions. I want to convey how our stories shape our identities, especially through fashion. She paused, the weight of his gaze compelling her to focus. This dress, for instance, depicts the turmoil of self-discovery, the battle between self-doubt and confidence. His eyes narrowed, a sign of contemplation rather than immediate judgment. Interesting concept. But why are you allowing your insecurities to guide your designs instead of letting your strengths lead the way? The question pierced through her bravado, forcing her to confront the lingering self-doubt that had sung its sinister tune for years. I believe my experiences were a barrier. Now I see they inform my expression, she responded, surprising herself with the clarity in her own voice. He grunted thoughtfully, flipping through the pages with methodical precision. Your personal narratives could be a distinct voice in a sea of mediocrity, he stated, a hint of challenge woven into his words. But vulnerability isn't enough. You need to confront the industry, not hide behind it. Will you take risks or retreat into the shadows? The duality of those words ignited a fire within her. Sarah felt as though a veil had been lifted. Or had she convinced herself that self-protection equated to artistic integrity? I want to take risks. I'm ready to dive deeper into my design philosophy and push boundaries, including my own, she asserted with newfound decisiveness. Then bring that clarity into your pieces. Make them unapologetic, he instructed, leaning back as if she had passed an initial test. The industry isn't gentle. Find your edge and exploit it. I see potential, but potential won't get you anywhere. With a mix of relief and uncertainty, Sarah nodded, absorbing the weight of his critique. He didn't coddle her, but he had acknowledged her as a contender, something she had yearned for. As their conversation continued, thoughts raced through Sarah's mind, each reflection challenging her ambition. If this designer saw a spark, why had she allowed fear to dim her light for so long? The experience propelled her deeper into exploration, igniting a hunger for authenticity. With each passing moment, she absorbed not just his insights, but also the undeniable desire to evolve. This interaction felt like the starting gun at the beginning of a marathon. The real race awaited. As Sarah prepared to leave, she glanced back at her portfolio, the series of sketches not merely an expression, but a testament to her emerging identity. But would she have the strength to follow through on the risks ahead? Would her insecurities really take a back seat? Or was she simply fooling herself? The challenge of future endeavors loomed larger than before, but there was also a thrilling sense of possibility. Determined, she tightened her grip on her portfolio. The designer's honesty had sparked not just reflection, but an insatiable urge for growth. Little did she know that this was only the beginning. The next chapter of her journey promised deeper revelations about her craft and herself. As she stepped outside, a chill swept over the event space, hinting that the external challenges would soon be matched by internal confrontations. What hidden aspects of her vision would manifest when the pressure mounted? What sacrifices would she have to make on her path to authenticity? The answers awaited just beyond the horizon. Sarah stood on the bustling street of New York City, the air electric with energy and possibility. The internship had positioned her not just in the heart of the fashion industry, but in the very fabric of her own identity. With each click of her heels against the pavement, she now felt a resonance within herself, a mark of her progress from self-doubt to assuredness. Gone were the days of shying away from her truths. No more measuring herself against others. No more hearing the whispers of inadequacy. Instead, she had emerged as a powerful voice, one that acknowledged both the struggles of her past and the victories she was claiming along the way. Her designs, infused with personal narratives, were no longer mere concepts. They had become reflections of her tenacity and ambition. Her time in the research lab had solidified her capabilities, allowing her to explore science and fashion with a depth she hadn't imagined possible. Where once she viewed her journey as entangled with Ethan's path, she now recognized it as uniquely her own, a vibrant tapestry threaded by experiences, aspirations, and courage. Each project she labored over bore her signature flair, layers of emotion interwoven with cutting-edge techniques. Recognition came quicker than she anticipated. Her first collection was selected for a rookie showcase, where she would stand before established professionals and peers alike. The thought sent ripples of excitement coursing through her. Who would have thought this could be her reality? The nerves were there, but they gripped her differently now. This was not fear, but anticipation. As the day of the showcase neared, she experienced a whirlwind of reflections. Memories of her days in the diner infused her with gratitude. Those late nights studying, forming the foundation of her determination, had become stepping stones to great heights. She had reclaimed her past, not as a narrative of suffering, but as fuel for her ambitions. Each moment had taught her how to transform hardships into strengths. Standing backstage, she felt the weight of her journey solidify in that moment. She had grown from the girl wrapped in uncertainty to a determined woman ready to define her future. As the spotlight washed over her, illuminating not only her creations, but also her unwavering spirit, she took a deep breath and stepped into view. The audience's reaction was electric. Applause filled the room, reverberating through her bones and celebrating her courage. As she showcased her designs, she could see the respect and genuine interest reflected in the eyes of those who had once felt like insurmountable giants. The fear of judgment faded. This was her moment, and she had seized it. Afterward, as she engaged in animated discussions with industry influencers, a familiar figure approached Ethan. Their eyes met, and in that instant, the transformation she had undergone was palpable. He wore a proud smile, the shimmer of his support shining through. They had both taken risks, and the distance had only strengthened their bond. "This is incredible, Sarah," he said, genuine admiration etched across his features. "You've truly crafted something special." In that moment, as they stood together framed by the vibrant world she had stepped into, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. It wasn't merely his approval that mattered. It was the acknowledgement of her own worth, her own achievements. They were navigating their journeys separately, yet together, an evolution that defined them both. As they exchanged plans for the future, Sarah felt a surge of hope. The road ahead may hold uncertainties, but she had learned that she possessed the resilience to face anything. Her dreams no longer seemed distant or unattainable. They thrived within her, waiting to be chased and conquered. The internship had been more than an opportunity. It had been a pivotal chapter in her life, molding her into a confident professional brimming with purpose. With determination, she reached for Ethan's hand, knowing that together or apart, they could illuminate the paths they were destined to carve. This was the moment she had spent years fighting for, not just one of achievement, but one where her true self stood proud and unyielding. It was time to step boldly into the future, not as someone clinging to the past, but as a woman fully aware of her power, ready to seize every opportunity. The world awaited immediately, conquering her fears. This was the new beginning, one she intended to embrace fully. To subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.